And horses, they're very comforting, and they will mirror what they're getting from you, not your persona, not what you're presenting to the world, but what's really inside. They can sense that. They can sense if your heart is beating at, 170 beats per minute and you're going, nah, I'm cool. No, you're not.
Hey guys, welcome to episode number 256 of the Game On Girlfriend podcast. If you've been feeling this pressure as you're aging to stay the same, if you've been feeling like things just are going to be this way forever, that hopelessness, I think it's kind of been in the zeitgeist a little bit lately, this feeling that, oh my gosh, we're stuck here. This is it. What if this isn't it? What if you could start to see beyond what you think is possible in a way that could change how you spend your life on a daily basis? Now, I know that sounds grandiose. That sounds like a really big promise. But what if we could take that step by step and actually cause it to happen? That's what today's guest, Sue Willoughby, as she works with Equus Coaching. And what that means is she brings actual horses into the coaching process because horses have this incredible, profound ability to help human beings heal. And they do that because they know the truth. They sense it, they feel it, and they know when a human being is not actually saying what's happening on the inside. And that sort of demystification of the truth, that sort of confronting of honesty, right, allows human beings to heal in a way we can't otherwise. And Sue, much like what she helps her own clients do, shifted her entire life to become an Equus coach and to learn how to do this and support other people at the same time. Sue Willoughby is the founder of Willoughby Coaching, where women over 40 confront their obstacles and change the trajectory of their lives through the power of Equus Coaching. Equus Coaching emphasizes the profound impact of nonverbal communication and self-awareness as clients engage with horses, gaining insights into their leadership, communication style, and personal growth. Sue took great comfort in working with horses during some of the darkest, most difficult periods of her own life, and she now finds fulfillment in being the kind of mentor she wished she had in the past. As you jump into this episode, I really hope you listen for the magic of working with horses. I just thought that was so cool. And also Sue's approach to coaching herself. And as a coach, I love this because it's why I have a business the way I do, you guys, because I wish somebody had been there to help me grow my business. I'm the coach I needed then. And Sue is doing the same thing around emotional healing and growth after the age of 40. She's the mentor she wishes she had as well. So really listen in for that. And as you're listening for yourself and what you want to change and grow in your own life, think about what you love and think about what you wish you had as you were on the path as well. You might find some really cool clues as to what's next for you. Pop in those earphones and let's get to it. Sue, welcome to the Game On Girlfriend podcast. Boy, am I excited to jump in with you today.
I am so excited to be here, and I love the name of your podcast. Game On. I love it. Just game on. Let's just get to it. Get it done. Get her done. That's what I always say.
Oh, I love it. And you guys don't know this, but just before off camera, we were talking, and Sue has this great phrase where she says she wants to be a go-giver instead of a go-getter. And I was like, we have to talk about this. This is the best phrase ever. So good.
I wish
Sue.
I could take credit for that, Sarah, but I can't, unfortunately. There's a whole series of Go-Giver books, and they're actually really lovely.
You just
So
opened my whole world. Thank you for that.
you're
And
welcome.
I love books that I haven't heard about these. That's so sad. So now all of the girlfriends and me, we have a whole new series to go enjoy. I'm so excited. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
But so Sue, I really am in love with your work. I'm in love with what you do and how you do it. And I'm really excited to dive into the details of that and talking about what's available for people. But before we do that, I have a feeling that you are very multi-talented. There's about a bazillion, that's a very specific number, things that you could have done on planet Earth while you're here. Out of all those things, why did you choose to do this?
That is an excellent question. And first of all, there are a bazillion things, and I've probably done a half a bazillion. So how did I settle on this? There's a path to everything. And sometimes people just take that nice straight path, not me. I settled on this because first of all, I want to be the coach that I wish I had when I was younger. I didn't have a lot of adult supervision growing up. So that's where I took that most circuitous route to get to where I am today. But horses have always been a key part of my life, whether I actually realized it or not. And I had some opportunities to do horse therapy or equine therapy as a volunteer and at special education camps, so on and so forth. And one thing just sort of led to another. I've always been in sort of a leadership role and a mentor role. I was in training and training development for many years. And that background combined with the horses just really resonated with me.
Mm,
I'm like, horses are so intuitive. They've helped me so much in my life. I want to bring that to other people. So I figured out, or I found a place where I could study that and went through the Equus Coaching training and then the Master Facilitator program. And here I am.
it's amazing. How long have you actually been doing Equus coaching, like really going into this and working with people using the horses?
A few years, probably about 3 years maybe now, and, I was doing it before I even realized I was doing it, but, fully trained and so forth about 3 years.
That is so awesome. Oh, I love it. And I know this, I mean, it's actually, you're like walking your own talk, right? Which is really where, the magic of midlife is where we can pivot and change and start to create a whole new world. What do you think is the biggest obstacle for most people in understanding that idea, that method, that truth? That midlife can actually be an opening to something new as opposed to
Oh,
feeling like
okay.
everything's closing down. Yeah.
Yeah, fear. Fear of success, fear of failure, fear of fear, and just, not knowing where to begin, I think is a lot of it too. You can, if there's something that piques your interest or you think, God, I wish I could do that, or, why can't you? Right. And a lot of it is just because people don't know where to start.
Mm.
They don't know. It seems like this big, huge thing that they have, this dream, this desire. But because it's so huge, they don't know how to break it down into tiny steps. So that's where coaching can come into place. And also then help break down whatever limiting fears and beliefs that you have to be able to just like crack open the door and be like, oh, there's the exit from my comfort zone, right? Oh, that's
Right.
how I can get out.
That is so, I mean, is it literally, I know the answer to this because I love to coach too, but I'm going to push you, Sue. It's my
Right.
job.
Yeah.
Is it really that simple? So we've got
Yeah.
a woman, right?
Mhm.
Let's say she's like, I hate my career. I'm so done. I can't do it another day. But financially, I can't do it. You love that. I can't do anything else.
Right.
What is the window or door into stepping outside that comfort zone? How do we break that down? How can we make that a simple step for someone?
My first question is, why can't you?
And let's go the usual suspects, shall we? We'll do the
Sure.
usual suspects. The usual.
Sure.
I can't
Yep.
afford it. I'm too old. No one's going to buy anything from me. I know I hear that a lot. You don't understand my family situation, right? Like what
All
are
those objections.
all
Yeah.
those regulars, right? I call them the usual suspects. Like literally, we're not police officers with our usual suspects, but we're coaches with our usual suspects. But when we hear those, like, and especially they seem so real to people, right? Like, I know we're half laughing, we're all joking around, but we've all been there too, right? We've all had a moment where it's like, no, 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 this one's real. Like you don't understand. This objection is real and it's serious. How do you love supporting people through that to help them see that there is a door outside the comfort zone, which is where those objections keep us?
Right. It's like boop into one, boom into another one. Uh, that's a great question. And it is not an easy answer to that because there are so many factors. There's so many things that we've told ourselves over the years. We're not good enough. We're not smart enough. We're not rich enough. We're not pretty enough. We're not tall enough. We're not short enough. We're not, whatever it is, we have, ingrained in ourselves all these stories that are on a loop. So the biggest thing is to break that loop, right? Pull that tape out of the 8 track so that it's not playing, 4 tracks at a time
Mm,
and and just stop and just take a minute. And I think that observation is key and awareness is key to just starting to like, you know, don't walk away from that 6-figure job. I mean, just because I did it, that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy for you to do it. But there was a whole process for me involved as well. We do get comfortable with the amount of money that we're making. But when you stop and think, okay, if it's money, right, you're miserable, what can you do without? right? What would be, how do you think, I mean, let's just break down the steps of the money piece of it, first of all. You're making, high six figures. Okay. Have you put any money in the bank? Do you have any savings? Are you,
Mhm,
do you have a cushion, or are you still at that level living paycheck to paycheck? If
mhm.
so, talk to a financial advisor, right?
Yeah.
There's always some way that you can get your questions answered. There's an expert out there if it's financial, right? What would it look like if I quit my job,
Mm, mm,
right? What, from a financial standpoint, if money is the issue, right? If it's a relationship that you want to leave because it's toxic or it's whatever, once again, take a deep breath, get inside yourself, inside your body. And this is the thing when working with horses, it's very somatic, right? You get
mhm.
inside your body. Everything that has happened to us is stored somewhere in our cellular makeup, right? It's in our bodies. You just have to find it, deal with it, sit in it sometimes, stew in it, and then be able to say, okay, I get it. Why am I staying in this toxic relationship? I don't need it. It's not healthy for me. But if I'm not in this relationship, then I may not be in a relationship. Well, maybe that's the best thing for you. Have you ever thought of that?
Yeah.
So I think, a lot of it is just helping people question themselves in a way that they can understand what's really going on behind the story. Where did that story come from? You know, Byron Katie does what she calls the work. That's her process, where she really works through someone that has that story, and she'll ask them, is that the truth?
Oh, I love that question.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that true?
Yeah.
And then people are like, they stop for a minute and they're like, what do you mean, is that true? Well, you
Right.
just told me that this thing is going on, and I'm asking you, is it true? They're like, whoa, good question. It's
So
true in my
great.
mind because that's what I've created.
Yeah, but it feels real, right? It feels real
Yes,
until
of
someone asks that
course.
question.
Yeah.
And I think what you're sharing that I think is so powerful, or what I'm hearing, you tell me if I have this right, is it's almost like when someone says, I can't because of money, or I can't because then I'll be alone, or I can't, you don't understand, like whatever that is, those objections, right? There's like a steel wall there.
Mhm,
Until you go, yeah, but what if you could? What would it look like?
mhm.
And all of a sudden, it goes from steel to glass, right? Like you can see, oh my, wait,
Or
I didn't
tissue
see that there
paper.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's almost like opening up what's possible. That sounds so generic and like coachy of me to say, but it's like to really let the brain start to explore what could happen if, but what
Right.
would happen if, play a game with me, what would happen, and just continue down that path. And I love doing that with people who are just starting out with businesses too. I'm like, okay, what are the fears? I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my marriage. I'm like, I'll be homeless. I'm like, okay, let's go down that. Let's go down that path. Let's stare at that for a hot second.
Yeah.
Right. And go all the way down. Okay. So let's say you lose your house. What would you do?
Yeah.
Oh, well, and then they start solving it. I'm like, okay, good.
Yes.
And so where are you?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, like, yeah, it's turning that steel trap kind of into the glass. We're like, oh, well, I've solved lots of problems in my life. I probably solved that one too. And I
Yeah.
think that's so important. And I
Like the
love the way
Tin
that you
Man
shared
from The
that.
Wizard of Oz, right? Oil can, right? And so you're just clicking a little bit of oil on those joints so that they can start to move.
So true. That's such a great analogy. There's so many good analogies in that dang movie. Scared the heck out of me as a kid, but there's so many good analogies.
Me too.
So I think what I'd love to know too, or what I'm so curious about is really the power of horses. We know there is something really beautiful that happens between humans and horses. And I know it's very challenging to describe it. And I'm going to ask you to try anyway. But
Okay.
if you could sort of express for all of us, maybe there's somebody listening who's never heard about working with horses to really break through things. What would you want somebody to know? What do you want people to understand about the magic of working with these animals?
Thank you. Yes, and magic is a really good word. It's very descriptive because sometimes it is really magical, and it continues to blow me away when
Mm,
I see someone come to a realization when they're in the presence of a horse. And I think what makes horses so magical is their intuition and their survival skills, because
mm,
they're prey animals, and they just have, like, every cell in their body is alert and awake at all times. Even when they're calmly grazing out in a field, they can hear something like, a branch crackle or something rustle in the bushes,
mm.
and they're like, what? What was that? right? So they're constantly aware because they're like, I'm going to die right now. Am I? Yeah. So being in their presence really brings people out of their head and back into their bodies. And I use that. I
Mm,
keep saying that, I know, but I use that constantly to be like, okay, what are you feeling? And they'll say anger. No, no. What are you feeling?
mm,
Where is that coming from? Like, is it in your gut? Is it in your, not, I'm not putting words in their mouths, but I'm just asking them, what physical feeling do you have right now? I can see the emotion. Can you sit with that and tell me where it's coming from? Where did it originate? And horses, they're very comforting, and they will mirror what they're getting from you, not your persona, not your, what you're presenting to the world, but what's really inside. They can sense that. They can sense if your heart is beating at, 170 beats per minute and you're going, nah, I'm cool. No, you're not. The horse is like backing away, going, no, no, you're
this
not.
one's not safe.
Right.
Something's happening here.
But
I've
they're
heard that
okay.
like you
Yeah.
can't
Can't hide.
that that horses respond to the truth. Is that
Oh, yeah,
accurate? Is that really your understanding too?
they do.
Yeah.
And the truth that's within, not the truth
Mhm.
that's coming out of your mouth. And that's why, with talk coaching, I can sit here and tell you whatever you want to hear. Right.
Mm.
The horse is like, no, no. They're not judging you,
They're just
but
no,
they're
not the
just
truth.
saying you're not being congruent. You're
Mhm.
presenting one thing
Mm.
and you're saying another.
Mm.
And that's not what I'm feeling here.
So
So
powerful.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just that moment when, someone's trying to get the horse to come to them or do something, and I'm watching the horse's behavior. So I'll say, "Well, what are you picking up from the horse?" And they may give me their interpretation. I'm like, "Okay, well, it just gives me the opportunity to ask open-ended questions." And
Mm.
to a point where once they can settle into their bodies and be in touch with themselves, and let's face it, right? Nobody wants to be vulnerable. So it really puts people in a big place of vulnerability to be
Mm.
with a horse. And then the horse is like, I don't care if you're afraid. I don't care if you're going through something. That's not, and they'll be like, okay, what do you need from me? It's
If only
fascinating.
humans did that. If only we could do that for each other as well, right? Not judge the emotion, but
Right.
rather say, what do you need as you go through this?
Yeah. We
Yeah.
judge our own emotions. We judge everybody
Yeah,
else's.
we do, right?
Yeah.
Not okay to feel this thing, right? And I would
Right.
imagine for a lot of your work, that's the initial work, right? Is like, no, it's actually okay for you to feel this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the instinct is, you can see the emotion bubbling up. The eyes
Yeah.
might, someone's eyes may water. They're feeling choked up about something. And I'll ask them, what's coming up for you? And you can see them trying to push it back down.
Wow.
So sometimes I have to ask, are you okay? Are you okay sitting with this? Because if it's something very traumatic that maybe it's coming up for the first time, then this may not be the appropriate time to deal with some deep, deep seated trauma.
Mhm.
Right. So I have to at least ask, are you okay with this? And if they are, then we're like, okay, then let's just take a minute and just sit in here and sit with this and tell me what's going on. And then a lot of times the horse will come over and maybe put its head on their shoulder or stand right behind it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is it almost like the horse can sense that like, do they just show up with support? Is that really part of that
Mhm,
process as well?
mhm,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
amazing. Oh my
And
gosh.
if they feel uncomfortable because the person is not being congruent or is trying to
Mhm.
control the situation in a way, and it's funny, I joke, but men, when they come into the arena, they try and like, I can control this horse. I can get it to do whatever I want it to do. And the horse
Right.
is like, yeah,
Right. It's
okay,
like,
bring
really,
it.
dude? You want to play that
Go
game?
ahead. Go ahead.
I know
Yeah.
you, right? I know this guy. Yeah.
Right.
Now, how long does it last usually? Is it really
Session.
that the horse, I'm going to say unlocks their ability to support? I don't think that's the right way to say that, but that's where I'm going. That moment happens, that unlocking happens once congruence is met. That what is being portrayed outwardly matches what's being felt internally. Is that accurate?
Yes, it depends on the person and how ready they are. Now, if
Mm,
somebody's already doing some work, let's say with a therapist or whatever, or, they're just like, they come and they're like, hey, you want to quit my job? I don't know what to do. La, 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 la. So they may have a whole bunch of things that they're working on. But I usually ask them to set an intention one for this particular session. What do
Mm,
they want to take away? Where do they need support? How can we support them?
okay.
And then it gives us a jumping off point. Now, their original intention may end up being something completely different by the end of the session because we drill down to, okay, this is what you really want to work on.
Got it. It kind of
And so,
emerges.
yeah,
Yeah.
it will emerge as the
Mhm.
layers sort of fall away or get peeled back. And then, continuing with that theme on other sessions. Now, when we do a retreat, it's kind of fun because it's like 3 intensive days, 2 to 3
Mm.
intensive days, and it's 8 hours a day, not not for each person, but there may be anywhere from like 6 to 12 people at the retreat. And when I have more than 6, I get another coach on board, and so that we constantly are doing stuff where they're either having one-on-one sessions, and it's interesting because one person is in the round pen working with the horse, everyone else is watching and sharing, and really cool to see how people that are watching that session can be like, oh wow, and you just see them, they're like, oh shoot, I'm dealing with the same thing. Right?
Yeah.
So they learn from each other
Mm.
and they grow from each other's experience. So that is really cool too.
Oh, it is really powerful. I love group coaching, group therapy, all those things
Yeah.
because we really see it sort of makes the illusion that we're all different and separate sort of come down a little bit and see that we really do struggle
Yeah.
with the same things, right? It might
Mhm.
take on a different flavor here and there, but that our shared humanity is so profound and it's so real. I
Yeah.
love those moments. It's so powerful. Mm.
Absolutely. It's yummy.
Oh, it really is. I'm like, I'll be there tomorrow, Sue. I'll be
Okay.
right over. All right. So the next thing I really wanted to dive into, because I think we have a lot of girlfriends listening who are in this midlife we've been talking about. We were sort of joking about the usual suspects when it comes to objections. But I know that you actually believe that midlife is really the best time of life to start to make changes. Why do you believe that? What have you seen?
I've made changes throughout my entire life, and I have come to a place where, people are like, "Oh, you seem really happy. Are you retired?" And I'm like, "No, not really. I kind of feel like I am, but and I tell people it's by design that
Mm,
I've gotten to this place in my life. And I say midlife, it still sort of makes me cringe a little. I'll be 65 in September, and I'm like,
I'm not in
whoa,
midlife.
how did I get here? Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, midlife, what is that? That's like, when I should be buying a Corvette or something. It's like, no. But I really do feel like we get to a certain point in our lives where we've had some longevity in a career, or we've been doing something, or, you may have raised a family and now your kids are, you've got an empty nest or whatever, or you look over at your husband, you're like, oh God, it's just the two of us, or your partner or whatever. It's just the two of us now. It's like, oh, I got to find something else to do. Right?
Hobbies,
So I
please.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's just that natural point in our lives where we're like, okay, I've been on this treadmill for so long. I've been
Mm,
taking care of everybody else but myself. And now it's time for me to really dig into what I want for the
mm.
next half of my life, or the next 10 years, or the next whatever. And, and then so I think it just starts to bubble up for people, for women. It's like, okay, y'all are good. My turn. So,
It's so true. I'm
right?
sorry, I don't
Like,
mean to laugh. That was
no,
not
it's
something to laugh at, but I'm like, yes, accuracy. Yeah. It's that feeling of like, yeah, okay, we're getting started now. And I mean, I've seen so many people go, please, they come to me too. It's like, okay, I'm ready now. It's like, oh, let's go. And it really is this phenomenon. It's so great to see all the support and the excitement around this and all of the different people jumping in to help when it comes to this. I
yeah.
think it's just wonderful. And I think it's going to do great things for the world. I mean, look at what you're doing, Sue. I'm so amazing. So amazing.
Like you said, there's so many more resources available to women,
Mhm.
especially now, that they can take advantage of. And maybe they didn't either have the resources to do that before, or, the opportunities just weren't there. So they stayed in their situation, whatever it was. And I think now we have so many options. We really
Mhm.
do.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right. So if someone's listening and they're like, all right, I want to learn more about how Sue actually works with people,
Mhm.
how would you describe both the retreats, but then also how people could work with you one-on-one?
different ways to work with me one-on-one. I also do, obviously I don't have my horse in my studio with me here, but because of all of the intuitive nature of horses that I have absorbed over the years, I bring that to my one-on-one online coaching, as well as I have a 90-day program, and I have also something, I think I told you that I have a little 30-day workbook for people that want to get out of their comfort zone, kind of how to break it down into manageable steps and at least start to embrace discomfort. So I do, online coaching and online group coaching and so forth as well. But one-on-one, you can come to me if you're in the Seattle area. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and there's a couple of places around here that I can travel to and places that I can work with. I have my own personal coaching horse. His name is Moose. You'll
Moose.
see him on my Instagram. He has a little tidbit of information that he shares once a week called the Monday Moose Minute.
I love this. Thank you, Moose.
He shares his wisdom. Very, very intuitive fellow. So he's my personal coach. And then I work with some other rescue places in the area where we use their horses for retreats or just coaching. And that's real fun. So I can work with any horse. It doesn't need to be my own or, a horse that I know. And then the retreats, there's a couple of places that we do retreats. And I say we because I have a coach that I partner with when we do bigger retreats, and they're usually 2 to 3 days. There's a couple of places in California that we work out of. And there's also a place in Arizona, which is really like an all-inclusive place where you go there and there's not a lot around. So we have all our meals there, we stay on site, and that's super fun. It's so immersive, and it's just very restorative, I guess, for lack of a better word. It's a gorgeous place. So there's all those things. And then also if someone, lives in, like New Jersey, for example, I don't know.
Yes.
And wanted to host a retreat or collaborate on a retreat, I can do research for facilities that may be able to host a retreat somewhere else. So we can do it anywhere where there's horses and a facility that is willing to let us do it.
That's amazing. Oh my
And
gosh.
there's no
So it
riding
really is
involved.
open.
No riding. So everything's on the ground.
Right. That was important for you to say.
Right.
I forgot to make that clear for people too. I'm so glad you said that. Yes. No riding. You do not,
Right.
you do not
No
leave
riding.
the
No
retreat
horse
of John Wayne.
experience.
Right.
There's no horse experience needed. Yeah.
So good. So good. Well, Sue, thank you so much for spending time with the girlfriends here today.
My pleasure.
It's just been such a joy. For those of you watching on YouTube, we will put the link to her 30-day guide underneath this video. For those of you listening, that link is in the show notes for you. Sue, thank you again. I can't wait to hear more about how things progress for you, for your business, for your clients. And maybe people need to keep their ears to the ground for a little bit of collaboration going on.
I think so. That would be awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
You bet, Sue. Thank you.